Hi, my name is TJ. My dad died of overdose on January 1st, 2011, and my mom is a recovering addict. God helped my mom, and now together we are here to help you. Now let's talk recovery. Here's your host, my mom, Susan Sexton-Wood.
Hi, and welcome to Let's Talk Recovery. I am your host, Susan Sexton-Wood. Today, our co-host is Dean Wood, and that is my husband. Our special guest today is Tamara Bales, and she is going to share with us her testimony and just her life in addiction and her road in recovery and what she does today to help others also with their road of recovery. But first, we're going to hear from Erica Tedder, and she's going to be singing Be Still.
Be still, my soul, the Lord is on thy side. Bear patiently the cross of grief or pain. Leave to thy God to order and provide. In every change, he faithful will remain. Be still, my soul, thy best, thy heavenly friend, through thorny ways leads to a joyful end. Be still, my soul, thy God doth undertake to guide the future as he has the past. Thy hope, thy confidence, let nothing shake. All now mysterious shall be bright at last. Be still, my soul, the waves and winds still know his voice who ruled them while he dwelt below. In you I rest, in you I found my hope, in you I trust. You never let me go. I place my life within your hands alone. Be still, my soul. Be still, my soul. The hour is hastening on when we will be forever with the Lord. When disappointment, grief, and fear are gone, sorrow forgot, love's purest joys restored. Be still, my soul, when change and tears are past, all safe and blessed, we shall meet at last. In you I rest, in you I found my hope, in you I trust. You never let me go. I place my life within your hands alone. Be
Thank you so much, Erica, for sharing that song with us. As I sat here and listened to the song, Be Still, you know, many years in my life, it was hard, definitely, to be still. And today, just walking in faith and living in God's will, being still is a little bit easier in my life. Again, I want to thank Tamara Bales and Dean Wood for being here with us today. How are you?
I'm great.
Good. I'm going to ask Tamara to share a little bit about her testimony. Tamara is a recovering addict, and today she helps others because of her journey through addiction and her walk in recovery. She has a heart to help others, so I'm going to ask her to start sharing her testimony and kind of what brought you here.
Okay. What brought me here is Susan. She talks me into the greatest things. Let's see. That song, Be Still, I agree with Susan. I was never still in my addiction. I was always on the go and nobody could stop me. I was in addiction for almost 20 years. It started out with alcohol and, of course, marijuana. It always stayed that way for a while. And then I got into the harder stuff, and that's when I really couldn't stay still, and I couldn't be stopped. My life was in chaos. I really didn't know God. I didn't want to know God. I would call myself atheist, so I was an atheist for over 30 years. I could not believe in a higher power or anything like that. In my addiction, I never knew the word recovery. I didn't know what that meant. Mm-hmm. Nobody ever told me what it meant. So, today I'm 6 years clean, by the grace of God.
That's awesome.
The last time I remember using, I had enough. I couldn't stop. I didn't know how to stop. And I prayed to a God that I didn't know existed. I yelled out, "Please, God, help me. I can't do this anymore. Please, God, help me." Within an hour, God was making me be still. Mm-hmm. I was being arrested. My addiction led me to do crimes to support my habits. It took me a while to understand that God did answer a prayer, even though I didn't believe in Him. Definitely didn't believe in Him, because if somebody would ask me, it's like, I'm atheist, I don't believe in God. Mm-hmm. But that day, I had a little enough faith to say, help me, God, I need help. Within an hour, I was being arrested. And it took me a while to realize that was God answering prayer. He gave me something I needed, not what I wanted, but it's definitely something I needed. He made me be still for over 2 years. And in them 2 years, I learned about God, learned about Jesus, learned about His grace, His love for me, learned about His forgiveness. Mm-hmm. I also learned the word recovery, what that meant. I learned a lot about myself in recovery. When I was in recovery, I wanted to go to college. I always wanted to do something with baking. I love baking. I always wanted to go to culinary arts school to bake cookies and cupcakes and whatnot.
Betty Crocker.
Yes, Betty Crocker. I loved it. When I signed up for college, something was pulling at me to not go into the culinary arts, to go help people, help God's people. Mm. He wanted me to help others that had similar experience, maybe not same, but similar experiences. Mm-hmm. And that's what I did. sometimes you have to listen to that inner voice and just go with it. I've been with Unchained Praises for almost a year now,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been helping others with their addictions.
So, when you were arrested, I know you said that you didn't realize that that was God, and that's one thing that happens in recovery. Our eyes start to open, and we realize when we finally do call out for help, that He answers it. It just may not have been the answer we were looking for at that time. We want an easy way out sometimes, and I think most of us want an easy way out when it comes to addiction and going through the withdrawal and going through just daily how to change our lives from what it is. And so that led you to prison, right?
Absolutely.
So what are the things that you started doing in prison? I know that you were a part of a, I forget the name of it, but it's a program inside the prison that actually started helping you learn how to build a recovery.
It is called a substance abuse program. It was down in Kentucky. I was in the substance abuse program called SAP for about 6 months. It absolutely changed my life. It was maybe the hardest thing I had to do, but I'm glad I had to go through it because it opened my eyes to not only that, I couldn't stop addiction, but it was inside me. There was something wrong inside me before the addiction even started. And it helped me heal and go through that process.
Right. Well, Dean, you yourself have spent quite a long time in prison. And when we're talking about programs with inside, prisons or jails, what kind of programs did they have for you when it come to drug and alcohol addiction that you can relate to Tamara about when you were incarcerated?
They have substance abuse programs and they have management programs. They have NA, AA. They have all them programs in there. I utilized the substance abuse program. I was in there for the way it worked. It was supposed to be a 6-month program, but every time we get close to the end, they kept adding more and more to it. So actually, in all reality, it was a little over a year and a half of being in a substance abuse program before we actually finally completed it. And yeah, I've learned an awful lot from being in the program, being incarcerated, and then being able to go to certain programs like that. You got a lot of time on your hands. You got a lot of time to do a lot of soul searching, a lot of time to do some serious thinking about what's going on, and you can apply the program a lot more than you would if you're out here on the street, because out here on the street you're just running wild, running rampant, you don't really care. And then in there, you're pretty much, they make you go. So you're on the count later, you gotta go, you gotta get there. So just like that song was saying, be still, to me, that, and that was God. To me, I know God don't put us in prison. I know we make our own choices. But to me, the way I look at it is a way for me to deal with mine is that, that's what God was done. He put me there to say, look, be still, chill out. I never realized all that when I first went down there. I went in there with an attitude that I was never coming home. And I just ran rampant, and I did my thing in there too. I even drank and did drugs while I was incarcerated, until, it was time for me to realize enough was enough. And when we were on lockdown and I was sitting in my cell and, I just had to, enough was enough, and that's when I was, found God. I bowed down and gave my life to God, but I've still had questions. I've always had questions. There's a lot of unanswered questions that I've always had that's never ever been, answered. And then when I got out and I ended up coming to Hillcrest Baptist Church is when I actually started getting more and more closer to the pastor and asking questions, and that's when I started to get more and more into my Christianity because I had enough. I'm tired of going back and forth to prison. I was tired of not being out here. I spent half of my life behind bars, so that's not the lifestyle I want no more. And being in prison saved my life. You know, a lot of people look at it as it's horrible. It's a deterrent. Yeah, it is. It is. It was never meant to be happy. You know, and I'm actually, you know, very appreciative for it now, because now I understand that it was for a purpose.
Well,
Because if I wasn't, I'd be dead.
It takes a while for us to see that, and that's what it sounds like Tamara's saying too. She spent her time incarcerated to do something, and it took praying and asking God to help even, and that's kind of neat when you're talking about 30 years of your life, like you claim to be atheist, but at the time that you needed something different and you know that you needed help, that's who you called out to.
Absolutely.
And so I think even when some people may say that they're atheist, deep down inside they believe in a God, because when you're hurting, when you're hurting, that's the first person you call out to, and that's what, I mean, you hear it in the world, God, and so it's neat how you see today that God answered that prayer. Now, since being incarcerated, you talked about going to school, and that's kind of how you were brought to Unchained Praises. You were our first intern.
Absolutely.
And so that to me shows that people are definitely hearing about us in the community, but to offer that to other people too, has actually turned into you now work for us in Winchester, and right now it's only a few hours a week, but the goal is, you know, we're going to keep praying about that, and we want to make that more hours.
Absolutely.
So share with us more in depth. You said you wanted to go to school for cooking, but that kind of turned into helping other people, and just going to school. Like, that's a big step when you're coming out of addiction and you're in recovery, and just the thought of going back to school is a big step. So share with us you going to school and what come out of that, because you graduated,
Yes.
and then share a little bit about what you went through the couple weeks ago,
Okay.
what you're doing.
Okay, so when I decided to go to school, I was scared to death, because my last year of high school was 8th grade. I actually finished 8th grade. I quit in 9th grade. I didn't even finish 9th grade. So I was scared to death to go back to college. I did attain my GED later in life, after high school, whatever. When I was in high school, I was a straight-up student. So, of course, you know, I was scared to death to go back to college. But I did it. I pushed through it with a lot of prayer and guidance from other people. I was an A-B student every semester. I made the dean's list every semester. I finished college with a 3.8 GPA.
Wow.
So I really give that to God, because I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing in college. I'm not smart enough. I was a straight F student in high school. How can I even finish college? But I wanted it. I really wanted it and focused on it, and I was determined to get through it, and with a lot of prayer. So I did finish with Human Service and Addiction Studies, and then last weeks I took a training class for a recovery specialist, and what that helps me do is do one-on-one meetings, what I've pretty much been doing with Unchained Praises with my college degree, but this just takes one more step closer to something I want to do. It gives me that certification, recovery specialist, or certificate. There you go. So, yeah, that's what I am doing. Uh, I've been thinking about moving on to more college since I did so well. I keep getting things saying that they're going to offer me scholarships and whatnot. So I maybe just need that little push. But right now, I'm just focusing on helping others to fight their addiction. Like I said at the beginning, I didn't know the word recovery. And today, I just want to spread that word to people and let them know that there is another option besides, drinking every day. That was my number one drug of choice, alcohol. So alcohol is a drug in my book. It's probably one of the toughest things because it's socially acceptable. But when you're hurting yourself and hurting others, when does that come acceptable? It never does if you're hurting yourself and hurting others. So that's why I choose to remain alcohol-free and drug-free, because I'm tired of hurting myself and hurting others. So.
Yeah. And you've said a couple times, recovery, and that one word has kind of helped you learn who you are and what you want to do. And we learned that recovery is a lifestyle change.
Absolutely.
And so recovery is not just for those who struggle with alcohol and drug addiction. Recovery is for people that need to change their life, and they want to do that by applying new steps into their life, by recovery being a lifestyle change. That's your job, and that's your home life, and that's whatever you do to give back to the community. There are people that go to homeless shelters and feed the homeless. And it's Christmas time, and there are agencies and organizations that have developed to help people with that. That's all a part of recovery. And I think some people get the concept mixed up that recovery is just drugs and alcohol. But everyone has a struggle.
Absolutely.
And everyone needs help. And it just takes somebody like you. And, Dean has a full-time job, but he takes time out of and he's busy, working a full-time job, having me as a wife and having kids. But he takes time to mentor other people too. And I think that's one of the biggest things with Unchained Praises, that just like in our last, the person we had on last show was Pastor Marty, and meeting people where they are. And we want to do what Christ did, and we want to meet people right where they are. But with us living that lifestyle before, we remember that. And so it gives us some gratitude that we're not there anymore. But we have learned to love others and not judge them like, why don't you wake up?
Right.
We remember being there, and we remember how hard it was to, first of all, reach out for help.
Absolutely.
God help me. I know just from the time that I've known you, and you're right, we're about a year now with you coming in and doing internship and now working a few hours a week. I've seen your spirituality change a lot. In that it's not only working with others, it's the people that have come in alongside of us and are doing the job too. I get to see them grow. And I've definitely seen a change in you. I've seen you want the willingness to help people. And if I say, Tamara, there's somebody in Winchester, will you go meet them? You're good about that. It's not working as a recovery specialist is not like a 9-to-5 job.
Absolutely not.
It is
No.
whenever somebody needs you, and it's taking the time to meet them right where they are, and they may be under the influence, they may be struggling with just a choice of going to work that day. I mean, there's a lot of different things that we struggle with, but that's what recovery specialists are there for, is to help motivate and listen to them and connect them to what they need. Now, the people that are watching tonight, if you could say something to somebody that's struggling in addiction, or they're in recovery and they may be struggling with, relapsing, what could you say to someone out there that's listening to help them just call out for help?
What could I say? I don't think words really help with much. Just know that, I know we've all been here in addiction. I know we've been shared the experience of prison. I've lived in homelessness. We've been there. We know what you're going through, and there's always hope. There's always hope. Always choose life over death.
And that's kind of a good thought to end with, is always choose life over death. And in addiction, we spiritually are dead. We mentally are dead. Physically, we definitely are deteriorating. And so if you're out there struggling tonight and you don't know what to do, you don't have any answers, and there's not 100% right answer for addiction. We just want to let you know that we're here for you. You can call us. We have 3 locations. We're Richmond, Winchester, and Connorsville. There's always someone there that can talk to you and meet you right where you are. I want to thank Dean for being the co-host today, and Tamara for sharing her life experience with addiction and her journey in recovery. And so if you are struggling, remember that life changes when you take the steps to change your life. And the first step is always to acknowledge that you have a problem. And the second step is to reach out for help. I know that it can be discouraging. We can feel downgraded, and sometimes we feel like there's definitely no hope for our life to even change, but life can change. And so we want to encourage you to take the steps to change your life. We thank you for just sharing this experience with us and watching the show Let's Talk Recovery. We want to pray for you. If you just want to reach out to us, we will. Even if it's just for prayer, we will pray for you. And so we want to thank you for being on Let's Talk Recovery. And thank you, Erica, again, for taking the time to sing and to minister to us.